ready to go.
Okay. Good morning, everybody, and welcome back. Today we're going to talk about flooding your motor. Now, on a two-stroke motor, it's pretty easy to do, but it's really easy to avoid also. And we're going to stick with two strokes mostly on this because you've got two different kinds of carburetors. You've got a Bull carburetor. This is a common four-stroke carburetor. This particular one came off of a Tecumseh Edger, but they're pretty much all the same. Some of them have a primer, some don't. The ones that don't have a primer have a choke of some sort, usually an auto choke on newer motors. But we're not talking about those today. We're talking about these. This is a common weed eater carburetor. They're all the same everywhere. They've got some sort of a choke and a primer. The primer might be attached to the front of the plate, of your air cleaner plate, and it might be on the carburetor. The most common ones are on the carburetor, and that's why I chose this carburetor as our example. And also it's got the choke built into it, so it's easy to show. A lot of people are visual learners, so I figure if you actually see it and get a chance to think about it, it'll be a lot easier to understand later. So let's look at this bad boy. Notice it's got a choke lever here and a primer bulb on top. Now, what happens is when you are ready to start your engine and you press this little primer bulb, you can't flood your engine with this little primer bulb. You can't. Say it with me here. You cannot flood your engine with the primer bulb. What it does is it pulls gas into the carburetor and fills up the carburetor through this hole, and then any extra fuel that's left over after it fills up the carburetor comes out this hole and goes back to the tank. And that's tank. You have two fuel lines. One is to receive gas, and one is to send the additional fuel back that it doesn't need. So you want to pump this until you can see the fuel lines are full. The bulb might not fill up, especially if it faces up like this. If the bulb doesn't fill up, that's not bad. Usually it'll be 2/3 full, but if it's not full and you see a steady stream of fuel going back, assuming you've got clear fuel lines, you see a steady stream of fuel going back to the tank, you don't see a whole bunch of air bubbles in it, you're done priming it. If you were to press this 28 times on an engine, it will not flood. This is what floods it, your choke. Now, when you close this, what happens is all that fuel in the carburetor, when you open it in this case, when you close it, all that fuel that's in the carburetor goes into the engine. What you're doing is you're creating a vacuum here, and that vacuum will draw additional fuel out of the carburetor and into the motor because it's still trying to draw the same volume, and less air means more fuel. So remember, this chokes it. What you want to do to avoid flooding your engine is pull the cord, full choke, make sure you're primed up, go full choke, pull the cord, and the first time you hear the motor sputter, even the smallest little bit, and it shouldn't be more than 2 or 3 pulls, ever. Usually 1 pull, turn it off, and she'll start. That's assuming everything's tuned up and you've got a good plug in it and the engine's happy. But it should never be more than 2 or 3, because once you get to the point where you've got enough gas to start it, the rest of it's just swirling around in the chamber, and it'll build up right here on the little tip. And when you're flooding it, that's what you've got. This little tip here has fuel in between the electrode and the ground. And once you've got a little bubble of fuel there, the spark will run through the fuel and into the ground, but it won't actually spark. It'll be a direct flow. So no spark means the engine's not going to start no matter what you do. If that happens, the best thing to do is take this plug out, blow some air across it, and then just put it back in. Just done. You're not flooded anymore. The plug being wet is the reason it's flooded. So, recap. Primer. Primer as much as you want. Choke. You only choke it until the engine sputters a little bit. Then you turn the choke off. I'm doing it backwards, I know it. So sue me. You turn the choke off, and then you're done. That's it. Well, thanks for watching, and I hope this helped a couple of people. Have a good day, and we'll see you next time.